Boccia, وضربة مروزة ودينار.
It goes on. Oh, it's a beautiful finish. Volleyed in by Bruno Guimaraes.
It is Kieran Trippier. It is tremendous. Tremendous. Trippier and Delph. It's forward towards Wilson, 3-0.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Evermore YouTube channel. It's Monday night. We're asking the same question we do every night. What is going on? And what's going on? I'm on my own, as you can clearly see. Mark has been struck down by a man flu. If you haven't seen our Twitter account already, he's struggling big time. He loves what's going on Monday. He was trying to get in here, but he has not made it, unfortunately. So he's here in spirit. God bless him. I think he's drugged himself up on a cocktail of Lem, Sip and Barocca, and he's shot off to his scratcher. So hopefully the big man will be okay come Evermore this week on Thursday. Very special Evermore this week on Thursday. If you haven't seen already, we are officially 1 year old as of Thursday, the 15th of December. So make sure you guys all join us for that. We're really looking forward to doing that show. It's been a bit of a whirlwind year for us. So we'll get stuck in on Thursday and we'll go through loads of stuff. But we've got a bit of crack to go through tonight. So it's all curry on the menu tonight. So I hope you don't mind that before bedtime. We're going to get stuck in a second. Before we do a little bit of housekeeping, if you haven't already, please click that like and subscribe button. We are now over 2,100 subscribers, thanks to you lovely, crazy, mad people that have clicked that button and love to listen to us just talk shite about football, really. All free content in this. We don't charge anybody a penny. It's rough as toast at the minute. You know, people can't afford to pay their bills. So, you know, if we can just give you a little bit of something to help you get through the day, a little bit of something to help you not have to go to sleep, then why not? You know, smash that button and come and join us. And we're live, as we are every Monday. Jump in the comments, guys. We've got a few of you guys already on here. Ash is already saying, Billy, no, mates. That's it, Ash. You're not getting one of these cups now for that. Horrendous start, Ash. Here we go. We've got Ian in the comments. I'll come on, Chris, lad. Yeah, mate, to be honest with you, I'm only going to do a quick half an hour, I think, Ian, and then we'll shoot off. It depends on what you guys are talking about anyway, to be fair. So we've got loads of comments coming in. We're going to get stuck in a second, but we're going to have to kick off with the main news, really. And the main news, I suppose, is that, you know, England are out of the World Cup. Obviously, a lot of us watched the game on Saturday, even though my heritage is slightly more north of the border. I did watch the game, and I've got to admit, I think England actually played really well, to be fair. I think, you know, France was everybody's favourite for the World Cup. I think England did really well overall in the game. I think they kind of nullified Mbappe a fair bit. I think Griezmann was really good. He popped up in loads of different positions. But I think, you know, all in all, England were probably quite unlucky, I thought, in the end of it. You know, had massive moments, obviously, which we'll talk about in a minute. And obviously, the future of the manager is kind of up for discussion as well. But we'll look at some elements of the game as well. I mean, obviously, the game was 2-1. You know, that big, handsome twat Olivier Giroud with a header, nicking it for the French. And then obviously Harry Kane had his big moment, which everybody knows. Sorry to do this to you again, guys, but this was the big moment. Harry Kane gets this penalty and he smashes it over the bar. I think it came close to hitting my kitchen window. He hit it that fucking high and wide. I've seen some unbelievably cracking memes about this from poor Harry, God bless him. But it takes balls to stand up and take that. Harry Kane is a player with balls. He'll have loads more penalties that he'll take for England. I'm sure there'll be loads more penalties that he puts in the top bins. Very uncharacteristic of him, to be fair. But, you know, it's just one of them. You know, it's just one of them that you live and die in those moments. You know, obviously David Beckham had his massive moment for England with that stupid red card against Argentina. Then he came back strong a few years later, against Argentina with that penalty of his own. So I'm pretty sure Harry Kane will you know, do the same moving forward. We've got some more comments coming in there. We've got Davies in the house. Good to see you too, Davey. PK has decided to jump in the comments. Mustn't be anything on goal tonight, PK. He's on the comments. Praying for the safe return of Mark from his man flu. Absolutely, mate. He's definitely got the man flu as Mark. God bless him. If he came on this channel right now, it'd probably look like something out of fucking Night of the Living Dead. I think he'd scare the shit out of you. You wouldn't sleep for days if poor Mark came on with snot bubbles pissing all over the shop. God bless him. But going back to the England situation, I mean, you got to feel sorry for them. I'm going to talk about the rest of the World Cup in a minute, because it was something that me and Mark were talking about in real detail. I just don't understand what the fuck these refs are playing at. But I've got to pull this up here. I mean, this was the big one for me. Everyone was pointing to the Saka foul in the lead up to the goal from France. I kind of agree with Roy Keane. I know Roy Keane's a bit of a miserable bastard, but I did agree with Roy Keane that, you know, you can maybe call a Saka foul early on and say the referee should have pulled it back for that, because he did boot his standing leg away. But there's a lot more game time involved with that. You know, France are up the pitch, nobody's pressing, nobody's out closing the lad who smashes in the shot from distance. He's got time to take a touch, he's got time to pick a spot. Griezmann had time to take it down. So there's loads of things at fault there from an England perspective. But this, for me, was absolutely unbelievable. I can't remember the French defender's name. If anyone wants to jump in the comments and let me know, but he was fucking woeful. I mean, Harry Kane doesn't even have that much pace, which again, I can't understand why Southgate wouldn't have brought on Callum Wilson. He would have ripped this kid limb from limb with that pace he's got on the shoulder. But Kane had him all night long, and he spun in behind him, and then he just booted his leg away. I mean, you can see that from the image there. That's just after he's clipped him. He boots his leg away. It's a stonewall penalty, and the referee just didn't even bother his arse going to look at it, really. I'm just trying to remember the guy's name here. I think BT smashed in the comments before. Yeah, Wilton Sampaio, I think he's called. Yeah, that's the Brazilian referee, which hails from Glasgow or Wales by the sound of it. But just, I mean, that was just absolutely abysmal. It really, really was. I mean, how you can't give that as a penalty. And then he didn't even go to the screen. I don't think he pointed to the screen. And then he kind of waved it away, which I could not believe it at all. It was unbelievable. I mean, to do that in such a major competition like that, with that much riding on it for a country, was absolutely unbelievable. Ian saying he thinks the ref was on a backhander. To be honest with you, Ian, you wouldn't be surprised with the way things are going in this Qatar World Cup. And just saying, yeah, for me, it was a penalty, and the much better team were robbed. I can't disagree with that, Ian. To be honest with you, I really do think that England deserves something out of that game. I mean, the only criticism I would have about Southgate before I move on to his future, whether he should stay or go, and just give you my 2 cents on it. I think he left it too late to make decisions and make changes. You look at the quality on that bench for England. You've got Grealish, you've got Maddison, you've got Wilson's pace. And I'm thinking, when is he going to make these changes? The game was slipping away from England, and I think France are really good in those moments. They're an experienced nation of playing quarterfinals, semi-finals, finals of major tournaments. England aren't quite there. They've done really well over the last few years, no doubt about that. And Southgate does deserve a lot of credit for getting them there and creating that kind of team ethos. But when you've got that kind of plethora of talent on your bench and you don't dip in and do it, I think he was a bit of a coward, if I'm honest with you. I think he could have been braver, and he could have went for that. I think he could have made changes that would have put France on the back foot. Yes, they conceded the penalty. If Harry Kane scores that pen, it's a different situation altogether. If Rashford takes the free kick, it's a different situation altogether. But that was another one for me. In that moment there, you're in a situation where you're either going to go out or you're going to go at extra time, right? So you get a free kick in Kieran Trippier territory. Kieran Trippier's on your bench. Why the fuck didn't he just bring on Kieran Trippier for that free kick alone in itself? I mean, a bit like an NFL kicker. That was a perfect position. Kieran Trippier could have come off the bench, fucking smashed that in the top corner and got England extra time. I mean, yeah, Rashford's all right at free kicks, but he's not as good as fucking Trippier. There's no doubt about that at all. It really, really wasn't. For me, I think that was a really bad mistake from the manager, in my opinion. Listen, I think he's done a good job for England. I'm not somebody who thinks that he should go, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But I think he did drop the bollock there a little bit. I think I would have brought Trippier on for that, definitely. BT saying we never play out from the back like we do. Yeah, I mean, I think it's tricky with England because they've got some good ball playing centre halves, but they're not really in great form. I mean, John Stones has done a lot better for City of late. He did go off on the boil a little bit. Maguire's had a fucking awful season for Manchester United, but he walks into that England team. And for me, even that's questionable as well. There's players ahead of him that are probably playing a bit better, but Southgate stuck to his favourites. And, that's what you judge him by, really. You judge him by the players that he's picking and the players that he's standing by. I mean, it took him ages to give Grealish his chance, if you remember, in the squad. I know Grealish is struggling a bit with Man City. And maybe he can't command a starting place in that squad, not ahead of likes of Saka and Foden. But Sterling's been awful as well for Chelsea. A lot of the key players for England went into this tournament without being in really good form. And I think England did quite well, in all fairness. I mean, obviously smashed Iran. I mean, Iran weren't great, but you can only beat what's in front of you. A draw against the USA. USA, very athletic, very strong. Played to frustrate England. If they had a centre forward, it might have been a different problem, I think, for England as well. Wales, just a complete spent force. Sorry, Di. But best two players, are absolutely shot to shit. So I think this was a major test for England going up against somebody like France. And I think it was just maybe a little bit of a step too far. But saying that, in those moments, I think England could have done something, could have been a bit braver. I know Ian's saying that he thinks Southgate was brave enough to play four at the back, and then he bottled every decision after that. He's a great bloke, top human being, but being a fucking wet lettuce has no time in game management skills. And he agrees that was a trip territory chance. as well. But yeah, I think going back to the manager and going back to the situation with Southgate. So the question is, does he stay or does he go? You know, as the song goes, I'm waiting for Ash to get excited there in the comments. But you got to look at this. I suppose I looked at it straight away, and I think I said, even on Evermore with the lads, I said that I think he'll go after this tournament. I don't think he'll hang around and stay. But for me, I think if you look at this practically from Gareth Southgate's point of view, take the emotion out of it, and the emotion of the situation out about going out of World Cup and everything else, and shit referee and missed pens and everything else. Is Southgate really going to get a good club job? Even off the back of what he's done in England. I mean, just going on his win percentage rate here. I just looked at this before. So the win percentage rate for England, it's more than one game. Sorry, Big Sam. But Fabio Capello's sitting at 66%, which is incredible, by the way. I can't even believe that guy got that many wins. Alf Ramsey is 61%. Obviously, Alf Ramsey was one and brought it home. Glenn Hoddle at 60%, had an unbelievable squad of players. And then Gareth Southgate sitting at fourth at 60.5%. So he's played 81, won 49, drawn 18 and lost 14. I don't know if that's up to date from the France game there. But that's pretty good statistics, that. But would he be able to bring that into club management? Ash disagrees. I'm kind of with you, Ash, as well. This is my point that I'm making here, that I don't think that Southgate would last in club management. And to be honest with you, club management's quite toxic, isn't it? It's quite a vile place to be. At the minute, Southgate is lauded, by the players that that he's managing. He's lauded by the supporters that want to give him the chance. The FA are happy with him because he's a good boy. He's a bit of a yes man. Remember years ago when Harry Redknapp was close to getting the England job, and Harry Redknapp would have been a fucking nightmare for these bosses at the FA. He would have had these geezers all around and all that. He wouldn't have been anywhere near what they wanted to be. But Southgate's a perfect template for what these FA guys want. He speaks well. He's very articulate. He's got a great man management style. He's built himself up a nice crew of coaches behind him. So I don't think he will go. And it brings me on to the next point as well. Some people have thrown in the name of Eddie Howe. Blasphemy! How fucking dare they? Thrown in the name of Eddie Howe for England. Forget it. And I've got some comments from Eddie Howe in a minute there, just to look at the reasons why we should forget it. But for me, you look at Eddie Howe's situation as well, right? Eddie Howe probably isn't going to go to a better club situation than he's at right now. He's at this exciting project. There's loads of money available. He's got these great, engaging owners. They've got massive plans for the city, massive plans for the club, massive plans for the future. The value, Eddie Howe's opinion, his stock could not be higher after he pulled this unbelievable miracle last season by saving the unsavable, in Newcastle United. So I don't see Eddie Howe wanting to walk away from that to go and take on the England job if Southgate does decide to go. I think Ash has just dropped a comment in there as well. He's saying that I was pleased to see Howe's name's quite far down the bookies list of possible replacements. Davey said he can't stand Woolgate. He's a boring prick. I wouldn't want to be stuck in a lift with him, Davey. I must admit, mate. Jesus Christ. But going back to Eddie Howe and Southgate, I can't see this happening. I can't see that Eddie Howe would leave this project that he's in now to go to England, and I don't think Southgate will leave England because he won't get a better job. I mean, arguably, I was thinking about this long and hard about this with Southgate. What jobs would he get? What jobs would appeal to him? If he leaves the England job, and everyone says, "Oh, he's done really well," and everything else. You're looking at what Spurs. If Conte throws his toys out the pram and fucks off, how many massive managers have tried at Spurs and failed? I mean, I think as somebody said before in the comments, I think it was Ian way back when, the Middlesbrough, he fucking bombed at Middlesbrough, Southgate. Yes, he was a younger manager then. He was very, very inexperienced then. So you got to cut him a little bit of slack. But he didn't do very well at Middlesbrough, and that can't have been an enjoyable experience for him. He kind of stumbled into the England job, and I think because he's done such an amazing job, that's why, in my opinion, I think he will stay on until the Euros. I look at Spurs, I look at Leicester. If Brendan Rodgers was to fuck off, would he go into Leicester? Would he get a bit more time at Leicester than he would do with something like Spurs? Spurs want Champions League. They don't want a guy to come in who's a nice guy and can make everybody happy and all this. They want to push on. They want to break that top four and stay in the Champions League. They've got Newcastle United to contend with now as well, who are sitting in third. Who beat them on their own patch and relatively easy as well, in my opinion. But I love that one, Dave. Yeah, he could go to Sunderland. Their shit too. Absolutely. I think Southgate owes you a favour, mate. Ian's already said it there. Howe has already said no. Absolutely I've got the statement here that I seen pulled up earlier on. So when they asked Eddie Howe about it, Eddie Howe said that Gareth's done an incredible job. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I never say never, say no. It's not something I wouldn't be interested in, but in the short term, it's not on my radar at all. I always say I love the day-to-day coaching. I love being with the players in the training ground. International football, you get that taken away for long periods. At this moment in my life, that's not something that I want to do. And I think that's pretty much Eddie Howe, as you say, guys, ruling himself out of the job. I don't think that Eddie Howe is nowhere near ready for the England job. I think when he was at Bournemouth, no disrespect to Bournemouth, I think if England had come calling, and to be honest with you, I think at that particular time, I think they should have come calling for Eddie Howe. I think Eddie Howe was an absolutely superb manager. And he deserves his chance, whether it be the Arsenal job or the England job. Thank fuck he didn't take it, because then we wouldn't have ended up with him. But because they might have tuned him up and spat him out. But for me, I think Eddie Howe's got a long way to go in his club management. Hopefully, Newcastle United, and hopefully he leaves us, dripping with trophies and prestige and Champions League positions, and memories of battering Real Madrid 4-0 at St James's and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't think Eddie Howe at all is going to be anywhere near this England job. If Southgate does walk, I don't know who's going to take it. People are talking about Thomas Tuchel, Pochettino. I don't think England will go down that route again, because I think they've had better success. I think they've had better success with domestic managers as opposed to foreign managers. Now, that's not being xenophobic. I just think it's a kind of a matter of course, really, that just for whatever reason, I think British managers seem to just get managing the British teams a little bit better. I don't know if there's any truth in that. Let us know what you guys think in the comments, whether you agree or disagree with that. But Southgate certainly has done a brilliant job in that position. And I don't really think England could get anybody better. I mean, people are talking about Steven Gerrard, which I'm fucking astounded at. These guys who bomb at club level, and then they end up getting linked to like massive international jobs, just fucking blows my mind. Listen, Gerrard was an unbelievable footballer for Liverpool and certainly for England. But he's not done a great job at Villa, let's be honest with you. He left the SPL way too soon, took on a job way too big for him, and fell out really. Done. He's going to have to start from the bottom and work his way up. If he ends up taking the England job, Jesus H Christ, I mean, that's a massive pressure on him, Maybe it'll work in his favour, like Southgate. You don't know. He could end up with a 60-odd% win ratio. But when you're playing a bunch of fishermen from the Faroe Islands for qualifying, then that's generally, you're going to be all right doing that, aren't you? But it remains to be seen. I think if he's saying Big Sam and Ian's saying bring the cabbage heat in for England, oh my God, could you imagine what he'd do? He'd have Mason Mount playing left back, or fucking Foden in a number 6 role or something like that. Wouldn't he be horrific? Ash is saying it's going to be a Gerrard, Lampard or Rooney. I think Rooney's done all right, though, in all fairness, Ash. I mean, I think Rooney did a really good job at Derby. I think he was just very unlucky not to stay up. And he's obviously fucked off to America to kind of cut his teeth a bit more. But Rooney doesn't demand these big jobs. He'll take these challenges on, whereas like Gerrard and Lampard, I think, almost think they've got a divine right to these big jobs. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, Scotty Parker's another one as well. He's done quite well. I think the Bournemouth thing was a weird thing. I don't know what happened with that, but Scotty Parker might go cut his teeth somewhere else and come back as well. But it'd be interesting to see. I mean, if I was Graham Potter, I'd have took it. I can't believe he took the Chelsea job. That's a fucking poison chalice, is that? Absolutely poison chalice. If I was Potter, I'd go nowhere near the Chelsea job. He's obviously taken it on, but I think it'd be peddled probably, if not by the end of the season, by the time the new season starts or just kicks off, because that's what Chelsea do. They just bin managers off, and I just think Potter will end up as the England manager probably when Southgate decides to piss off. But I think Southgate will get the next Euros. I think he'll come out pretty much and he'll announce that soon, and he'll be settled in there. I don't know what that means for our players. He obviously he's a big fan of Trippier. Obviously Trippier started the tournament, and he came out for Walker with Walker's pace and everything else. And I don't think Walker was particularly great. I don't think Trippier was bad. I think he had a bit of a shady game against the US, but everybody was shit against the US. But yeah, I mean, Trippier's, what is he, 32 now? So he'll be 34 by the time the Euros comes along. So yeah, it's just, I don't know whether Trips will have much left in the tank for England. Obviously, Callum Wilson could make the Euros. He didn't really get much of a sniff in this tournament. I think that was a bit of a shame. I think Callum could have done something in this tournament. I think Southgate's loyalty to Kane is that main man. There was times where Kane looked shot to shit, and he really did. I mean, I think he could have dropped them in the Wales game. He could have played Wilson. He might have won that game. I just think he's a bit too scared to drop Kane, really. I don't think Kane looked bang at it at all the whole tournament. Even against France, he lacked pace when he spun in behind. And yes, he got fouled by that big lad, but, he hasn't got that speed. He drops in the hole really well, and he can slip it out, balls here and there through the runners. And if you had Callum Wilson playing with him, I think he would have probably fed off him quite well as a front two. I agree with you, Ash. I think Kane had a disappointing tournament. I really do. But nice segue, Ash. You set them up, mate. I'll knock them down. So a little segue into the next section that we're talking about. So a World Cup, but conference referees, really. I mean, we talked about the ref, obviously, the weekend, which was this lad here. Sabiado, and obviously he's not give those major decisions, but I mean, there's just been honking refereeing left, right, and centre. I mean, and the worst one was possibly this bloke here, which, if you don't know who this bloke was, this is Antonio Matau Laus, who refereed the Argentina-Netherlands game. This prick here gave 15 yellow cards. That's right, 1-5 in the game, and just absolutely abysmal, really. I mean, even Messi came out and said that they knew about the guy, they knew about his reputation before the game, and he doesn't think that he should be refereeing in games of this size. He says, I don't want to criticize the referee because I'll get into trouble. So this is what happens with with these major players in these tournaments. And even club football and Premier League, you can't criticize a referee or they'll just pull you over the coals. But I mean, he was abysmal in that game, absolutely abysmal. It's a decent game despite him. Really, he was absolutely abysmal. As Ash says, more cards than Moonpig. That fucker, absolutely, mate. Honestly, I think he booked himself when he went for a piss at half time. Just see himself in the mirror and just whipped a yellow card out. He was fucking horrendous. As William says there, good to see you in the comments, William. He was like Oprah giving away yellow cards, mate. He was dreadful. And I think loads of referees have been dreadful. There's been major decisions that just they've been appalling, really. VAR's not really being used. Every game seemed to had about 12 minutes added on for injury time, and just even before extra time, you're thinking what the fuck is going on with this competition? I think it's been really, really shit, the standard refereeing in this World Cup, and it's really made me enjoy it a hell of a lot less. I must admit, I've not been overly impressed with what I've seen in this World Cup, and I didn't like the idea of the World Cup in the winter anyway. And you look at, I don't know, there's been some lovely stories on it, to be fair, which probably takes me to the next one. Is there's so many upsets, but why is the question? Massive upsets right throughout the competition, even from right at the start when Saudi Arabia beat Argentina, and I've got to give them a massive shout out. Unbelievable result for Morocco. That's the manager getting hoisted up there. Incredible achievement by Morocco. Totally capped up as well by the sweetness of watching Ronaldo storm off, crying his eyes out, looking to give Piers Morgan a cuddle in the changing room, which was appalling, really. Of all the ability that Ronaldo's got and all the class that he's got as a player, he just has no class as a human being whatsoever. He should have been on that pitch, shaking the Moroccan players' hands as the captain of his country and just congratulating them. Then he could have went and put his arm on the young players and everything else. He could have walked off there, could have got himself a lot more credit in the bank, but it's all about Ronaldo, and it just, I mean, to be honest with you, I know he was crying because this is his last major tournament, but I'm quite glad that it is really, he's been a phenomenal footballer, but he's been a world-class prick as well. JB's in the comments there saying that he hopes Morocco wins it. Could you imagine that, mate? I hope you had a 5 on them, mate. My God, honestly, unbelievable. But yeah, I just think for me, I don't understand why all these upsets are coming in. Is it because a lot of the players haven't got a heart in the World Cup? I mean, Ian's banged a couple of ideas in there that he's got. If I get my mouse click right, the whole fucking World Cup was dog shit. Teams bent, officials bent, by empty stadiums, FIFA a disgrace. Maybe there's a bit in there, to be honest with you, Ash. Ian. That I just think that the players aren't really in for this. They're not really up for this. I mean, even the good players, even the top players, the Messis, the Neymars, the Ronaldos, João Felix, which we'll get onto him in a minute. All these really class players just they couldn't be asked to be there. Do you know what I mean? Just you were thinking, is it a fucking nuisance for them? Are they struggling to get going because they're in season mode and they're going for titles and Champions Leagues and all this other stuff? And you're dragging me off to Qatar and fucking blazing heat, and I can't be arsed with it. I just don't know, what the reason is really, but it's not been a great tournament. All the massive clubs have got, massive countries have gone out. We're really left with what we've got Argentina, I've got France. That's got to be the final, really, on paper. But this World Cup has been absolutely horrendous right throughout of guessing any kind of competition. As Asher's there, he feels that whoever wins this World Cup should have an asterisk against them in the record books. This has just been the face of a World Cup for the minute that it was awarded. Yeah, sorry, beg your pardon. It was awarded to Qatar. Absolutely, Ash. Yeah, for me, I totally agree with you. I just think, I just don't think the players are arse, as Davey says. They're the players of the rest of the season to go. So that's maybe a good point, Davey. Do you think that they're maybe holding back a bit? They're not going into challenges as much as they would do. They're not chasing balls as much as they would do because they don't want to do themselves in and then do themselves in for the running of the Premier League season, of La Liga, or of Serie A, all these other major leagues that we're all going back to playing. Who knows? Do you know what I mean? It's one of them. But yeah, I think the sooner it's over, really, the better. Because for me, it's just been a bit shit, to be honest with you. I'm not being overly impressed. But that brings us wonderfully to talk about back to Toon soon, and I can't wait. I know you guys are probably the same. We're going to be back soon with Newcastle United week in, week out. Obviously, the lads have been over in Saudi Arabia. We battered the Saudi Arabian squad. It was Al Hilal 5-5 now, quite easily. Miggy and Joe stealing the show. As Ian says there, get me back to the Gallagher. Absolutely, mate. We'll all be dying to get back there. The Leesers, the East Stand, you name it. We're all going to die to get back in there. But I just think that, for Newcastle United coming back, I don't know what your hopes and expectations are really with the guys. We have had some news that more fixtures have been changed as well. I think the Bournemouth game has been changed now due to the strikes. We had that in the comments earlier on there as well. Can't remember who said that. I'll scroll back and find you. But yeah, we had the game changed there. There's been games changed for Sky. It's kind of playing a little bit with the supporters, abilities to get there, and then obviously you've got train strikes and everything else. And it does put a bit of a dampener on the Premier League coming back. But listen, we're the Geordie Boot Boys, as they say, and we're all fucking mad as boxes of frogs. And it never ceases to amaze me how many away fans get to the away grounds from Newcastle United. If they had to fucking swim there, they would do, to be honest with you. So I think absolutely, it's great to have Newcastle United coming back, and we've got some players to maybe talk about as well, some transfer banter. Yeah, Davey saying the friendly was a good game and get us back smiling. Absolutely, Davey. You'd only beat what's in front of you. I know most of their side was involved with the Saudi Arabian national team, so they weren't there. So there was kind of some reserve players, but they had some decent players on show. They had Igalo there who nearly snapped Miggy's leg, the dirty bastard, if you saw that one. And the commentator was a funny one. I think I talked about that earlier. Yeah, just I wasn't sure who it was. I wasn't sure the background, so I was taking the piss on our Twitter account. If you haven't followed us, we're down there. Give us a follow. And then it turned out it was obviously just a bit of crack anyway. So fair play to the lad who did it in the end. He took it all in kind of good jest and goodwill, didn't he? But yeah, I think it's good to see how far the club has come. How well we plan these trips, and and we smash thwe teams as well. We don't just go in and half-arse it. And I remember back in the likes of, it was Run Geordie Run. Yeah, Davey, absolutely amazing. Fair play to him. When we were under Bruce, even, playing the likes of York and people like that, it was a struggle of the game. It was a shit game. Nobody really enjoyed it and stuff like that. Whereas, the lads that they're really bang at it. The young lads look really good as well. Stevenson got a goal, didn't he? And Alex Murphy looked tidy as well. Some of the midfielder boys as well look really good. So yeah, I think to be fair, I think it's good to have the lads back on that. The only thing that disappointed me, I think, was the Isak thing with him missing. We were talking about this in our chat about Isak, and I understand kind of not rushing him back in and things like that, but we've got Rayo Vallecano coming up at the weekend, and I really, really hope that he plays in that game. I really do, because we've missed him so much in terms of fans seeing him on the pitch and seeing what he can do. And obviously with Wilson not being there, I really hope that he does play and he plays through the middle and he has at least a good hour on the park at St James's Park, because we really need to see more from Isak in terms of what he can do. And I just think, for me, this could be a massive second half of the season for Isak. Get him fit, get him back, get him into the side, whether he plays up front as a two with Wilson, or whether he plays in the front three at the left-hand side, whatever it may be. But, Isak is our 60 million quid signing. All that talk about, Juventus, no, it was absolute fucking bullshit. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he is the long-term replacement for Callum Wilson through the middle. There's no doubt about that. But, because Wilson's still made of glass, as we all know. Listen, he's been superb this season. And he hasn't played a lot in the World Cup, which is probably a good thing for us. as disappointing as it would have been from Callum, I just think that, from Callum's point of view, that is, I think it's been great for us that he hasn't played a great deal and Bruno hasn't played a great deal. So they're not going to come back fatigued. They're going to come back into the Newcastle United squad and they're going to hit the ground running and they're going to really want to go at it and, go at, if they're back for Bournemouth, they'll go at Bournemouth, go at Leicester, and they'll be fit, they'll be fresh, they'll be recharged. So for me, I just think that to me is absolutely fantastic. A great comment from David there. Kane is a great midfielder. He is, mate. They should have dropped him in the 10 role and put Wilson up front. He would have scored shitloads of goals in the World Cup. But that takes us nicely into the last bit we're going to talk about tonight, guys, which is the Toon transfer links galore. There's been loads of players. Like you probably noticed, we've done a few rumour hazard videos that we do. Shout out to Ash. No ITKs, Ash. Just reporting on what we hear in the media, mate. Just reporting. But yes, there's been loads of players linked, some really interesting players too. We did a video on João Felix, who's been interested. So apparently his agent, the super agent, that is Jorge Mendes, even Ronaldo's agent as well, he's flown over to the UK to talk to Villa and Newcastle apparently about potentially signing João Felix. It's a weird one because there's loads of talk going around that João Felix has fell out with Simeone and all this other stuff. There's other talk about maybe Atletico are in the shit because they got jumped out of Champions League too quickly and they cash it in. We all know that a lot of these massive European giants are spending way beyond their means. That's why they wanted to fuck off and start this European Super League. So they're all kind of in the shit really with FFP. So you have these gem players and we're 70, 80 million quid or whatever. And when they fall out with a manager, and the lad himself was even quoted saying he prefers to go off play for Portugal because he likes the way they play better. That becomes a bit of a problem. That, and then they're probably thinking, listen, he's probably worth 100 million. If Jack Grealish is worth 100 million, João Felix is probably worth 120. But if he's worth 100, 120 million, but he's not playing for the manager, they might take a 60 or 70 million quid punt for him. And as Ash says there, we'd be an amazing signing, but I don't see it happening. I don't really either, Ash, if I'm honest with you. I think, as Sean says there in the comments, that Felix is a 10. We don't play with a 10, especially one costing 100 million. I think he has played across the front three, Sean, but I get your point that I don't think for me that he's the player that we're going to go for. I think Mendes is very clever. He's very crafty. And every other name you call an agent that begins with a C, which I'm sure you will in the comments in a minute. But I think, he's just trying to use Newcastle United's name really to get his agent a move, get his agent a better contract, get his agent a higher transfer fee, whatever it may be. I don't think the Newcastle United will go for João Felix because I just don't think he's a Newcastle United player. As talented as he is, I don't think Eddie Howe would see him in the squad. We've already got a bit of an issue with how we use ASM, in all fairness, who's a bit of an enigma who drifts and moves positions and doesn't kind of stay in one spot. So I don't think João Felix would be a player that we would go for. James Maddison, on the other hand, I think is a player that we will go for. Now, a lot of the journos have been quite quick to pour some water on the fire of the James Maddison debate. Been loads of cracking banter from the England camp with the Newcastle lads, and even Conor Cody joined in as well. There's no doubt in my mind that Maddison does want to come to sign for Newcastle United. I think it nearly happened in the summer. I think Leicester pulled the plug, especially when they sold for Fana. I think this deal will get reignited. Dave says there, why take why take Morrison when he can have Golden Balls on the bench? Absolutely, mate. I thought you said Maddison there. You confused me there, mate. Caught me out. But yeah, I think, Maddison was unlucky not to get any game time in the World Cup. I think he was the most informed midfielder going into the tournament. And I just think he was really unlucky. And I like him as well, Dave, as you rightly say. I'm going to do a rumour hazard refresh on him as well, actually, to be fair. And as Ian says there, they all want to come to the Toon. Absolutely, mate. Who wouldn't these days? Just show them the war flags displays. God, they'll run up. But I think that's something else, Ian. It's a good point. He's probably talking to the England lads when he's away as well. And, he's probably saying, what's it like to play for that guy? Eddie Howe, and they're probably going, oh, mate, it's fucking unbelievable. It's this and that. What's it like on the stadium and then more flags? No, fucking, and Maddison will be looking at thinking, I could go there and I could be a real hero there. I could, have them fans shouting my name. I could have a flag in the crowd with my face on it. I could get myself, more in the England reckoning because I'll be, smashing in goals for Newcastle United, and I'll be hopefully playing the Champions League, if not that, Europa League every single season. And I think for me, he fits the Eddie Howe mold in terms of that little bit of stardust, that little bit of magic. I still don't think that ASM has a future under Eddie Howe. That's a bit controversial. And I know Eddie Howe won't say that out in the open, but I think he's made his mind up on ASM long ago. And I don't think ASM fits Eddie Howe's plans. As Ash says, Maddison's the only player who wants us to sign in January. If that's the only business we do, I'll be very happy. 100%, mate. 100%. And Ian agrees with me as well. He thinks that Maddison would be a legend at the tune. 100%, Ian. I think he would just be one of those players that we talk about for years to come, mate, with some of the stuff that he would do. Love to see him and Tripp stand over a free kick. Imagine the other team that be shitting themselves, especially against Little Arms Pickford. My God. But going back to the players we'll be linked to. So Maddison is the big one that we all want. We smashed a poll up. I think you guys might have voted already about who would you sign. So all the players we've been linked to, if you could only sign one, and we had Maddison, we had Diaby, we had João Felix, and we also had Christian Pulisic, who's another player that's been linked to Newcastle United. Now, it's a funny one, Pulisic. The fee apparently for him has been set at 40 million quid. As Sean says there, I think the rumours on Maddison are 70 million, but we won't go for that. I think, yes, it's around about 60, 70. I think they've set that tag up for Sean. Keep an eye on our rumour has a video, so I'm going to talk about it then, as well as look at Maddison's stats and how he compares, to other players in that position around the the rest of Europe, really, including some of them other players we've been linked to. But yeah, I mean, for me, when you look at those players, I mean, the one thing that Maddison gives you, he gives you. Sorry, Ian, I'm just laughing there. You know me, mate. I love to talk. I can talk without breath for a long time, mate. But I can't swim that way. I'd be like a fucking fish. But I think, all those other players that we're talking about, Maddison and Pulisic are the only two really that are tried and tested in the Premier League. The rest of them are an unknown quantity. Diaby looks mint, in Bundesliga. João Felix looks mint. And he's played against England teams as well in European competitions. He's looked mint there. But I think with Maddison, he just slips straight into the side and he gives you that quality, he gives you that consistency. He's been one of the best players in the league for the last 3 or 4 seasons. I'm amazed Leicester have held on to him as they have done. I really, really am. And I think now is the time for him in his career. He's at a crossroad in his career. He wants that massive move. He wants that chance to play Champions League football. He's in that position where I think other teams were coming from. Maybe Spurs were coming from. I don't know if he'd be an Arsenal player under Arteta. I don't think that he would do that. I really don't. I think that Arteta would look elsewhere, maybe look at a younger model, maybe look at more European teams rather than in the Premier League. So you're looking at people like Spurs. He wouldn't go to Chelsea, nothing like that. So for me, I think that Maddison will definitely come here. Tommy Gill has said that he would love to see Captain America the two. I was really impressed with Pulisic at the World Cup. I like him as a player, Tommy. I think he's a really good player. I don't think he gets enough credit from a lot of people. I think he's got a turn of pace. He's very good at running with the ball. He's got good vision. He can score goals as well. He can play right across the front three. He's only a young lad still as well, isn't he? People forget how young he actually is. And I would be really happy with Pulisic. I've heard some rumours maybe his attitude isn't quite right, but I don't know whether that's right or not. Some inside info, ITKs from some of the boys within in the chat group. Heard it. But I just think the Maddison thing just seems to fit perfectly well, and you can see the little glint in his eye. When he's talking about the Newcastle lads and all that kind of stuff, So yeah, I'd be really excited to see that happen. Now, thanks, Ian. I love you too, mate. I love you too. I won't put up the other one, mate. I don't want to give them any comments on my my podcast, mate. But yeah, I see Ash was asking the question. No, Ash, it's not lager. It's something else altogether, mate. But yeah, so I mean, looking at these players that have been linked, I think it's definitely apparent that we want a creative outlet. I mean, you look across the attacking threat that we have, and what I love about Miggy as well, Miggy's come back and he's still on fire. He looked amazing in that game. Yes, it was Al Hilal. It wasn't a great sign, but Miggy doesn't look like he's let up at all. He's come back intense, firing, wanting to keep doing what he's doing. ASM is an unknown. That's a big question mark over ASM. I think he got injured at the worst time. Let's call a spade a spade. He was flying before he got injured. Certainly that City game and that volley against Wolves. Without him, we don't win that game. ASM was brilliant, but I think he lacks the discipline and he lacks the intensity to play for Eddie Howe for a long period of time. And I think Eddie Howe can't trust him. And I think that's why we're being linked to the likes of your Pulisic's, your Maddisons, your Diaby's, even your João Felix. These kind of players that, for me, could fit in that role. And I don't think ASM will be here. Will he be here in January? I don't know. Maybe Leicester will want a piece of him with the Maddison deal. There's a question for you guys. Would you put ASM in as a part X for Maddison? I think I would, mate, if I'm honest with you. So Maddison wants to leave Leicester. We will get him in the summer if we don't get him in January. I agree with that, Wayne. I think that Leicester are in a position where they have to cash in. They have to cash in before his market rate drops or before they lose him for fuck all. You can hang on these players for way too long. Leicester aren't really going anywhere in the league. They'll be mid-table if they're lucky. If they sell Maddison for 50, 60 million quid, they can go buy themselves 2 decent 30 million quid players and try and strengthen in the areas that they massively need to strengthen in. So yeah, for me, it's an absolute no-brainer. With William as well, yeah, 100% William. I think we need a defensive midfielder. We've done a couple of links to some players. Casado from Brighton, who looks a really good player. Reminds me a bit like a young Kante. He'd be a brilliant player for us. Obviously, Alvarez didn't have a great World Cup for Mexico, which is pretty good. That means his fee hasn't gone up through the roof. So and a left back as well is a huge one. I think left back is definitely a problem area still. I hope Matty Targett can use this downtime, this warm weather break and this mid-season break to get himself right, because it does worry me that Matty Targett has not played as well as he has when he came on the loan deal. I'm not getting Kennedy vibes just yet, but he looked class when he was here on loan. And don't get me wrong, when he's come in, he's done all right, but he's not looked as good as he did, and that worries me a little bit. And we are linked to a lot of left backs, so I don't quite know. We'll keep an eye on that one. But yeah, I'm with you, William. I think a defensive midfielder and a left back 100% is on the agenda. But we'll be doing loads of rumour has it, guys, as the weeks go on as well. So keep your eye out for them. I'll be smashing the Maddison one up soon with a bit of an update on his stats as well. So check that out. Mark has done the stats slide before he slipped into his man flu coma. So I'm sure it'll be on point as always. But that's just pretty much wrapped up, guys. Thank you so much, everybody in the comments. You always help this crack flow, especially when I'm on with Jack Jones. So I really hope that you enjoyed it. We're going to be back on Thursday with the rest of the guys. As I said, it's our 1 year anniversary, 1 year of Evermore. We've absolutely loved it. Hopefully, we'll have many more years to come. So if you can come and join us for that special anniversary show, it'll be myself. Hopefully, Mark will be back fully fit. We'll have the Welsh Wizard coming on, Di, and the Lord of Ord himself. So he will be coming on, and the four of us will hopefully take you through a nice bit of Newcastle United crack. And we'll also be looking ahead to the Vallecano game as well, and just giving you our thoughts on that as well. So yeah, just before we sign off, some nice comments there as well. Yeah, thank you, Ash. Really appreciate that, mate. Massive solo gig. Thank you, Tommy. Really appreciate that, mate. Yeah, top man, Ian. Thank you so much, guys. Listen, you guys get yourself away, go to bed, do whatever you do, and go to work. This is Chris signing off. Let's keep supporting that team of United, and we'll catch you next time. See you later, everyone.